Your attention, masters, mistresses. All systems functional for the Everything Geek podcast.
Hey, this is Rich McDonald, and I play Commander David Mason on Call of Duty Black Ops 2. And you're listening to Everything Geek podcast.
Hey, it's James Arnold Taylor, the voice of Obi-Wan Kenobi and Master Plo Koon in Star Wars The Clone Wars, and you're listening to Everything Geek, the podcast.
Hey, it's Leif Gamfert. I played Uncle Ben's killer in The Amazing Spider-Man, and you're listening to the Everything Geek podcast.
Hello, I'm Simon Fisherbecker. You probably know me better as Dorian Moldavar from Doctor Who, or the Fat Friar from Harry Potter. And this is Everything Geek podcast.
Face it, Tiger. You just hit the jackpot with the Everything Geek podcast.
You're listening to the Everything Geek podcast, bringing you interviews from your favorite films and TV shows every week, and all of the latest news. Here's your host, Rory Williamson.
Hello everyone, this is Rory Williamson of the Everything Geek podcast, presenting my interview from Dublin Comic Con with actor Scott Wilson, best known for playing Hershel Greene in The Walking Dead, Harvey Oberst in the Heat of the Night, Dick in Cold Blood, Captain Billy Cutshaw in The Ninth Configuration, Ambassador Swanbeck in The Last Samurai, General George C. Marshall in Pearl Harbor, Chaplain Farley in Dead Man Walking, Horton and Last John in Monster, Dr. Temple in The Exorcist III, Eugene in Junebug, Malcolm Webson in The Gypsy Moths, George Wilson in The Great Gatsby, Scott Crossfield in The Right Stuff, Norman in A Year of the Quiet Sun, John Lyons in Damien, Sam Braun in CSI Crime Scene Investigation, Reverend Orison in The X-Files, and Ben Chaney in Law and Order. Enjoy. Hello everyone, this is Rory Williamson of the Everything Geek podcast. I'm here at Dublin Comic Con with actor Scott Wilson. How are you today, sir?
Fantastic. I love it.
So are you enjoying the event so far? Has anything stood out to you about it?
Oh, it's been fun. I love Ireland, it's good to be here and meeting all the the people here that are coming to the con.
That's great. Now, for some of our listeners who may not be familiar with your background as an actor, can you tell us how you got into acting?
Well, I've been acting a long time, but basically I hitchhiked from Georgia to California when I was 19 years old. I got drunk and ended up in an acting class. I shouldn't say that, but it's true. And then I went back sober the next week to apologize to the coach, and he got me to come back and do a monologue from a Eugene O'Neill one-act play, and I did it for some reason. I loved it, and I'm still doing it.
It's really interesting because a lot of people in the acting industry feel like they were born to be an actor, but you kind of stumbled into it by accident.
I did. Well, I may have stumbled through the door the first time, but then I applied myself. I wanted to be as good as I could be, and I still do.
Definitely. So, across the 5 decades in your acting career, you've been nominated for a Golden Globe, as well as winning a number of smaller awards. However, a lot of people now know you for Hershel in The Walking Dead, of course. What do you think it is about The Walking Dead that makes it so special?
Well, one thing, you have a lot of wonderful actors in it, and the writer's room and the producers, and everyone pulls together, and they're all trying to make the film or the show as good as they can. So it's a collaborative medium, and the nature of the show, no one knew it would be as big as it is. It just caught the fancy of the people in most of the times we live in, I guess.
Definitely, a lot of very passionate people, not just the fans, but people working on the show as well, of course.
Exactly.
So can you describe the filming process of Hershel's death scene on The Walking Dead, how long it took to prepare the atmosphere on the set ahead of shooting the scene?
No, I love that last scene. They staged it very well, Ernest Dickerson, the director. And you had the good guys up on the hill and the bad guys down below them with a tank and heavy-duty assault weapons, and Hershel and Michonne on their knees, and the governor goading Rick to come on down and have a discussion, and Rick walks down with a 6-shooter on his hip and like an old Western or something, facing a tank and everything. I love the way it was set up. So then they took Hershel out. But it was set up well.
It was one of my favorite episodes of the show, but it was sad to see you go, of course.
Bad day.
Definitely. So in the season 3 episode Sick, the second episode of the third season, Hershel was unconscious for most of that episode. It was the episode after he lost his leg, of course.
Yeah.
And I heard that during filming of the episode you actually fell asleep on the prison beds. Is this true?
Yeah, I was. They had the cot with a little hole in it. I put my leg down the hole to look like half the leg was missing. And so they were doing a scene where everyone's around me, and I started snoring. And I woke up to laughter. But
it's really fascinating. So lastly, do you have any upcoming acting roles or anything else you're working on coming up that you would like to talk about?
I'm in a new show called The OA that'll be on Netflix, and it's with Britt Marling and Zal Vatmangalis. So it's a lot of fun working on it. They're very talented. I can't wait to see it.
That's great. I'll be sure to keep an eye out for it. So thanks very much for talking to me today.
Thank you, man.
Make sure to check out our podcast links. Check out our website, website.everythinggeekpodcast.com/EGP. Check out our Facebook page, www.facebook.com/everythinggeekpodcast. Check out our YouTube channel, www.youtube.com/user/everythinggeekcast. Check us out on Twitter, twitter.com/everythinggeekp. Check us out on Instagram, instagram.com/official-everythinggeekpodcast. Check out our Mixcloud profile, www.mixcloud.com/everythinggeekpodcast. Email us at the following email, everythinggeekpodcast@gmail.com. Check out our companion podcast, Everything Geek Comic Cast, www.facebook.com/everythinggeekcomiccast. Make sure to check out the hosts' YouTube channels. Mine is www.youtube.com/user/Separatist Destroyers. Check out Scott Wilson's full list of credits on IMDb. www.imdb.com/name/NM0934113. And check out Channel 138 where we broadcast live from, www.channel138.com. So geeks out, everyone.
Producers and directors, of course, and because it's just the whole team coming together. I actually, that's my favorite part of the entire process, when the show is in the middle.
I think that not only did I choose acting, but acting chose me. There's this thing called, your destiny in a sense, and I feel like acting was my destiny because